If you hear me!
What's good, people, and welcome back to another episode of Holla If You Hear Me's Reddit Hot Takes. I think that's what it's called. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted. There's a fly that has not left me alone for the last hour and a half. What does that say about me and Sharon? Hey, Andy? This is the show where we bring you Reddit's wildest hot takes. As always, I am your humble host, Fraz. I am back from a week in the desert, but I'm joined once again by the kayfabe assassin, Mr. Andy Nero, and the ring historian himself, Mr. Dirty Dave. How are we, gentlemen?
Excellent, as always.
Oh, super hot and super ready for these super hot takes.
Excellent. Andy, honestly, your timing on these things are fucking second to none. Before we get into the video, please like, share, subscribe, because we post weekly wrestling content that you will salivate over. Now, without further ado, let me get to the first hot take. And this is a momentous occasion. I want to give a big shout out to one of our viewers, Benjamin, in association with Dirty Dave, right? Well, Dave said, make sure you add this in this week. I said, what's 100%. His name? He said, some geezer. I said, come on, what's his name? He's got to be worth some value. He said, really? Honestly, he wants to stay anonymous. Ben, I applaud you. Thank you. You will forever stay in my heart. Ben has said, regardless of his issues outside of wrestling, there is no denying the impact the Hardy Boys, Jeff in particular, have had on wrestling and the early 2000s pop culture in general. As someone who has been a fan of Jeff Hardy's work since 1999, I personally think he was massively underrated as a heel. His Antichrist of pro wrestling persona in TNA and run as champion under Bischoff and Hogan, for me, was my favourite Jeff era. What was your take on this period for the charismatic enigma, and should we have another run as this character in TNA? Ben, I will answer this for you. No, absolutely not. Jeff Hardy deserves to be in the gutter, my friend. But I do appreciate you posting it in. On to the next hot take. No, I'm only joking. Andy, I see you have your hand up, my friend.
As the person who, out of the three of us, is most likely to have witnessed this firsthand, I fucking loved Jeff Hardy's heel run in 2009. It was such a shame the way it ended with the Victory Road pay-per-view. But the Antichrist of wrestling, that whole look, the whole gimmick, the music was different. It was awesome. He had the fucking cool purple title. It was just brilliant. And the matches were turd because it was TNA, it was Hogan and Bischoff running it, and it was awful. But the gimmick itself and the work he did and the character work was impeccable. He was an asshole. He was smoking in the ring. It was cool. I mean, literally, he had a fag hanging out of his mouth most of the times he was in the ring. It was awesome. So wow. I liked it. I really was a fan. Bring it back. More of that.
Dave, anything to add?
Well, for me, I'll pick up on the first part of Ben's comment about the early 2000s and the pop culture, and actually how they drew people in. I mean, a classic example, my wife knows who Jeff Hardy is and absolutely loves Jeff Hardy. If I ask her about anyone else from like 1999 other than Austin Rock, Taker, Mankind, the big ones, she hasn't got a clue. Absolutely loved Jeff Hardy. The Hardy Boys made wearing baggy jeans and tight tops very fashionable. And of course, for us gentlemen, we had Lita, who made wearing thongs incredibly high over your hips, very fashionable. So it was a good couple of summers we got out of that, thanks to Jeff Hardy. So, yeah, always liked Jeff. Always thought he was fantastic. Thought he had a good little run against Randy Orton as well. But yeah, he definitely brings, and the Hardys definitely brought more people to the product. They were like the sexy boys, but they could go. They were hardcore. So guys and girls liked them. They had that enigma about them. Yeah, no.
You heard it here first. Dave likes the Hardys as sexy boys, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was going to do the Shawn Michaels theme, but
I'm certainly not one of those guys. But thank you, Ben, once again. And if you've got another comment for next week, big up, my man. Next one. Dom is the most improved wrestler on the roster right now. David.
Come on, Dave.
Define most improved. I think I've touched on this a lot because I've seen a lot of Dom's interviews. I follow him quite a bit on several different channels. Dom's famously says, "I don't show you anywhere near 100% of me ever," and he can't ever envision a time when he will because he likes to layer it. So he'll come out one night and give you 10%. He'll come out one week and give you 20%, and then boom, he'll do something incredible at a pay-per-view, and you'll forget. I mean, look at Triple Mania. So no, I don't know about most improved. I think he's so on it, and fans don't even know how good he is. And I think what's actually happening is fans are realizing how good he is. Not that he's necessarily improved. I mean, yeah, he has improved, but I wouldn't call him the most improved because he was already fantastic anyway.
Okay, one name and one name only, no explanation needed for the sake of time. Andy, I'm going to cut you off. Sorry, mate. I can see the look on your face. Who is the most improved wrestler right now?
This was aimed at you, sorry, Davey.
No, this is for both of you, you fucking dickhead.
Oh, all right. I mean, well, I don't know. It's difficult on the spot, but I mean, I think Raquel's really come a long way.
Raquel's really come.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody's exploding this week. I think she's come a long way. So, yeah. How can you not say Braun Breaker?
And
I don't know. That is a tough one.
In the interest of time, I will say that in tongue-in-cheek, yes, Dominik is the most improved because he started in 2005 as a 7-year-old or 6-year-old. So yes, he has massively improved since then. That's purely tongue-in-cheek. But no, he is excellent. He, like you said, he only shows off half of what he can do 90% of the time because he's a heel and he's a dickhead and he knows what he can achieve. My answer to that one name only, Maxine Dupree. You look at where she was and where she is now. I know she's obviously still cooking a little bit. She's still in the oven, but she's doing so well.
I mean,
Dave.
so many people have got better.
Dave, one name only. No explanation needed.
Women, Raquel. Men, Braun.
Okay. Magic. Okay, WrestleMania, another top 4 PLEs, was better when not every match had to have 6 months worth of build-up. I miss having matches like Earthquake versus Hercules, the Mountie versus Tito Santana, or Owen Hart versus Skinner at WrestleMania.
They're three of my all-time classic WrestleMania matches.
Andy, thoughts, feelings?
Nah. I prefer, well, I mean, realistically, some of my favourite matches at WrestleMania 17 didn't have that much of a build, and that's one of the first WrestleManias I really remember.
Sorry, Eddie, sorry. I don't know if you remember me talking about that fly.
You just drank the fly.
It was fucking as I took a sip of my drink, I swallowed.
Just wanted the
we didn't have this chaos last week, did we?
have flies.
No, but it's good viewing though.
As he necks another fucking pint of wine. No,
Crack
so
on.
yes and no. I think a good build is worth it. It generates views. It gets people eyes on the product more so than just we've got 2 people to get on the card. Let's throw them in there. But I don't think it needs 6 months. Like sometimes it can be a bit too long. It's like we want to pay off quicker than that. But
Find the balance.
yeah. There's a balance to find, and sometimes Hunter is guilty of not finding it.
I would say, if I may give my opinion on this one, it's okay to have it for one storyline, isn't it?
Oh yeah, like a few.
You could have one like huge story, but the rest don't need to be that long.
They don't need that long, no.
They could be sort of anywhere between 6 and 12 weeks, I think. Is a reasonable amount of time to build for, in particular, a WrestleMania match. But I get what they're saying about top PLEs.
You're guaranteed to have at least 2 matches that are going to have a 3-month build, aren't you? Like women's Rumble winner, men's Rumble winner. They're guaranteed to have a 3-month build You know, the other one, the other title match will have a 2-month build because of the chamber match.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a couple of matches there that are going to have a little bit of a build. But if you've got like a third story on each side of things that you want to build from, there's no reason why you can't start it at SummerSlam, separate, do other things, and then come back to it later on for a big blow-off match at WrestleMania or SummerSlam or wherever, you know?
Yeah. We're still waiting for Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest Part 3, aren't we?
The decider.
The rubber match. Okay, speaking of rubber matches, I'll move on to the next rubber. Less defences of the title means more than defending it all the time. Roman's felt important because you thought he could have lost it to Jay, Drew, Cody, Daniel Bryan, Brock, Randy, etc. Cody's doesn't feel as important because he's defending it against every and anyone at any random show, and you know he's not going to drop it on some random B-tier pay-per-view or SmackDown. David?
Not even slightly... Well, sorry, go on, Dave.
No, I just see Dave shake his head.
Yep. Andy, you go if you want, mate, and then I'll echo.
I think we're going to agree on this one. I don't think Cody defended the title that many times at all. I think he defended against AJ. I think he defended against maybe a handful of people. Kevin Owens like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But he didn't defend it like
he's not
he was
defended
always
on
there.
SmackDown.
He was always there, and he was always prominently placed in the show. But it's not like he was constantly defending the title. He had maybe like 6 defenses all year.
It's not like Attitude Era where Austin's defending the title on Raw and SmackDown and then at the pay-per-view that week, which worked at that time. It doesn't work now, but he's a different person to Roman Reigns, so it's going to be different, and it's going to feel different. If it felt the same, it would feel weird. But he's hardly defended the title. If anything, I think he's been a little bit boring as champ because he hasn't. I was expecting him to be more of a fighting champion and actually defend it every week against everybody, and that's what he hasn't actually done. But I'm a bit confused by that one.
Indeed. And Roman obviously held it for a lot longer than Cody did, so they had to do different things, didn't they?
Of course.
But I think you'll find that there are people that would disagree with your opinion there, gentlemen, and if you do, please leave a comment. We would appreciate it. Next hot take I have is put Money in the Bank back as just a WrestleMania match instead of a pay-per-view or PLE. There's been some WrestleMania matches that shouldn't be on that card at all in recent years. Who wants to take this one?
I'll go first if you want. I'd have a woman's Money in the Bank on one night of WrestleMania and a men's on the other. I'm not a big fan of the pay-per-view, and it creates problems with storylines. We sandwich it in, whereas I think giving it a story Mania to Mania potentially, because you've got 12 months to cash in, always made a bit of sense. That wouldn't bother me at all, actually. Gets people on the card, gives them a big show at WrestleMania. Don't overpack it. We don't need 10 people like at WrestleMania 26. But six people make the match mean something. Mm-hmm. Two good matches to build stories for WrestleMania.
Okay. Andy?
I completely agree with you, Davey. I think the Money in the Bank pay-per-view gets that legacy pop, as it were, now. It gets the legacy position of being the 5th part of the top 4. It's top 4 adjacent in terms of PLEs because it has such importance on the rest of the year. And it's also got the legacy of things like Punk, things like Rollins and Ambrose and all the other things that have happened at the pay-per-view over the years. But generally speaking, it's just another wasted pay-per-view. I'd rather see something like a fixed King of the Ring pay-per-view or something like that, and put Money in the Bank back as a match on WrestleMania. But I agree.
Yeah, I don't want to say I wasn't listening, but I totally agree. Attitude Era was overrated and mainly relied on for shock value and sex for its storylines, and The Ruthless is better. Well, I mean, I don't. Do I really need to ask that, Dave? I mean, I know you're going to say that Attitude Era is better than Ruthless, surely.
Well, match quality of Ruthless was definitely better. But, I think people look back at things with rose-tinted glasses, don't they? I mean, there was a lot of stupidness, especially on Raw, because it got, Vince got very juvenile when he didn't have competition. So there were some really stupid storylines. But match quality, when Michaels was back, Evolution, probably was better match-wise. From the minute the show opened to the minute the show ended, was the show better? No, because the energy that you got in the Attitude Era is just unmatched, and the guys weren't as good at wrestlers. They didn't have as good at matches, but you wanted to watch the show. I mean, and there were enormous crowd reactions. You've got The Godfather versus Hardcore Holly, and the place is going absolutely nuts. So who's doing something right and who's doing something wrong?
Bow, 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 bow. Andy,
Damn.
Ruthless or Attitude?
Yeah. One word answer.
Well, it's about 30 seconds. That'd be cool.
Yeah, Ruthless, definitely. Attitude, like Dave said, rose-tinted glasses, Vince Russo, Car Crash TV was popular because it was can't miss rather than must watch. Water cooler moments. You didn't have that on Ruthless Aggression. You never had any water cooler moments, but you had good matches. It was the wrestling that you watched. So, not the bullshit around it.
Yeah, I think Attitude was much better than Ruthless, but that's just me, and I'm just a humble host, and I know nothing about wrestling. If Taker had to lose the streak, I don't think he should have, by the way. Brock shouldn't have had the honour. Roman Seth would have been a far better option at the time, or use it to get a mid-carder who cared about the business over Brock. Brock didn't give a shit about WWE by this point, so always leaves a sour taste in my mouth personally. Andy?
I'll take it. There's two better options than Brock, and they are either side of the Brock match. Punk should have won it, and if not Punk, then Bray. It's not difficult to explain why. Bray's coming off that initial run as the new as the cult leader, and then became the new face of Fear. That would have been a cool way to sort of send Taker off into the distance, in the sunset. Failing that, if I'd rather of the two, I'd rather Punk, because I thought the Punk build was phenomenal. Even fair enough, the passing of Paul Bearer was important to Taker and important to the business, and the videos they produced and the promos they produced prior to the match, where Punk's ripping the shit on a dead Paul Bearer and like giving it the oh yes, using the fucking urn, it's gold, and like flicking the urn in his arms. He's such a dick. And then proving, even using his intelligence, saying, I don't have to win for you to lose the streak. You can be disqualified and I still break the streak. It was intelligent stuff like that I really, really appreciated and loved. And missed opportunity.
And the absolute saviour for that WrestleMania, which was dreadful, WrestleMania 29.
Yeah.
So I'd agree with that. Definitely Punk, Bray, and if we had to, Reigns. Probably in that order. Bray, Punk, and Reigns. Not Brock. I remember watching it. I think you were around mine watching it, actually, Fraz. Me, you, and Sean. And I just remember going, well, that can't be right.
One word answer. Should Taker have lost at WrestleMania, Andy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yeah.
Triple H is really good at creating mid-card performers. Pretty much the entire roster feels like they're all mid-carders right now, but is yet to make a bona fide star. Also, this generation of wrestlers have fully killed kayfabe. They all seem too friendly to each other, which has made the product very weak. There's so little personality. Like, which one of the randoms in the roster will lose to Cody this week? Yawn. Dave.
Well, I mean, there's a yeah, I can see where he's coming from. We've had a few failed experiments, that's for sure. It's not all on Hunter. I think one of the biggest problems we've got is we have a major show every 3 weeks, and that is not enough time to build new people or build people up for them to be credible to fight in whatever match they fight. It doesn't have to be the title match, by the way. I just don't think you're getting consistent build on somebody. So, you know, if we take the Attitude Era, for example, someone would probably win the European title in February, then they'd probably win the Intercontinental title in June, and then they'd be fighting in the main event by the end of the year. Might not be for the title, but, you know, you sort of take Chris Jericho in 2000, that was a very similar thing, you know,
Trajectory.
at the start of 2000 he's European / Intercontinental, and then at the end he's fighting Kane in a last man standing match, you know, and then you go into the next year, 2001, and he's challenging for the actual title again, and he's fighting Austin and Triple H. That's where we're struggling. You're not getting, people aren't logically stepping up the ladder. They get halfway, then they come back down, then they get up, and then they come back down, and then because I think they're trying to do too much, and this 3 week cycle is just too much. It's just too much. You just can't keep up with it, and people just get lost. Solo, as an example, although he's doing some fantastic character work and he still has some good matches, but he's nowhere near as over with the crowd anymore. You know, Frazium, you know, I'm still not saying I'm right. It's just my opinion. They lost that tag match 8 weeks ago. They've done bugger all since, and they came out on SmackDown this week and no one gave a shit. Nobody. No crowd reaction at all. Great match. Fantastic match. Probably the best match on the show, actually, for Fraxium versus Mello, Del, Miz, Rio, whatever they're called. But no one cares, because you shit on them 6 weeks ago, you cut their legs off, and then they weren't on TV for 8 weeks. And then why should someone care? And then the problem is you've got to start that build again. So it's like, let's go and get the ladder and let's start again. There's only so many times people want to see that ladder, and those people getting only so far. So I'd agree to a degree.
Okay. Well, Andy, before you give your opinion, I do quite like your fetching moustache. You should definitely shave the beard completely for next week's show and just have that tash. And if anyone's seen the film Tombstone, Andy would fit in very well there. Andy, your thoughts very, very quickly on the statement about Triple H and his mid-carders.
The guy had me until halfway through when he mentioned...
killing kayfabe?
Yeah. It's 2025, motherfucker. Kayfabe is dead. Kayfabe died in 2001. It's over. It's done. Stop trying to flog this dead horse. It's done. Even me and your brother had the conversation the other day about WWE Unreal. We were talking about how it killed kayfabe. I said, dude, it's 2025. If people still think it's fucking real, then they need their heads examined. Even Jacob, my 6-year-old, knows it's fake. It's fucking... it's... No. Anyway, I agree with what Dave was saying about there not being enough time to build. Also, I just want to say, I think people's expectations for people coming up from NXT is being elevated too much because of what's happening in NXT. You look at someone like Mello, you look at someone like Solo, did really, really excellent things in NXT. They come to the main roster, it's a much bigger audience, a much bigger stadium, blah, 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 and I think they get swallowed up a bit. I don't hate NXT, I love NXT sometimes, but it's like these guys are coming from a performance centre and a tiny arena with a few hundred people and being big fish in small ponds, and they're being dropped into a massive pond and they've got no idea what to do with it, and they sort of fall a bit short. You look at Solo, for those first sort of like 9-10 months, he's only just now started to actually generate some character work. Who else? Mello, you've got Fraxium. It's just an adjustment, and unfortunately they're having to learn on the fly how to do it.
2 very, very quick points on that. I agree. NXT's not. I don't think they've got the balance of old school and new school. You know, you go back to like 2015, and you know it's selling out the night before SummerSlam because it's got Samoa Joe and Finn Balor on it or whatever. So there's a disconnect there. I think the jump is almost too high at the moment, whereas NXT I think used to be closer to the main roster than it is now. And a little quick hot take. Separate hot take. if I may, that has just been sent through to me by someone. This special pay-per-view that's happening or PLE, to clash with AEW All Out, has been given a name.
Oh, really?
Are you ready for this?
Worlds Collide, isn't it?
No, it's called WrestlePalooza. So I've just got this. I've got the screenshot. It says WWE has officially announced WrestlePalooza for Saturday, September 20th, 2025 in Indianapolis, Indiana, where the rumoured Brock Lesnar versus John Cena match will take place.
Of course it
That
fucking
is a hot take for you.
Oh, my lord.
Breaking news.
Fuck's sake. So,
Andy,
so
you've got some thoughts on that.
well, as an AEW fan, as someone who enjoys that product, of course they're going to keep counter-booking every single show that All Elite does. And it's so fucking blatantly obvious. We even talked about it last week, Dave. If you have a monopoly on a product, you and one other company, you don't counter-book each other because you're splitting your customer base. If you run opposite each other, you're halving your opportunity to make money. If you run opposite, like one weekend and then another weekend, that's 100%.
You've got 100%. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Penetration.
It's fucking
rate.
basic, obvious. It's
Exploding.
so basic. And if there's one thing we know about, it's penetration. So
We do.
We do indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of Reddit's Hot Takes for the Holla If You Hear Me crew. Please like, share, subscribe, and if you haven't already, fucking subscribe. We will catch you next week for another edition of the Hot Takes from me and the crew. Adios, amigos.
sayonara.
Sayonara.